Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. Spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9th, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison. I've also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that happened while I was in prison. And God forbid you end up in prison, you want to make some of the same mistakes I made. And I really mean that, because if there had been more videos out there, I could have saved myself so much grief. We just had Felice Johnson and turned out Alabama. So anyway, I first got to the low security. I self-surrendered, meaning I didn't go through transport or anything like that. They allowed me to finish drug court for my state charges and self-surrender 5 months after I was sentenced. Imagine that, walking into a prison willingly to do an 8-year sentence. It's a little bit stressful, to say the least. So I get there, and it takes like 4 weeks before I go to orientation, which is usually pretty unusual long time. Now, orientation, they make you watch the video about don't take a honey bun somebody puts on your pillow and all that type of stuff. Then this thing with the BOP director, it's ridiculous. Like, they tried way too hard to edit it, and it looked so terrible. It shows him talking on a desk from this angle, and he'll continue saying the same stuff from another angle, and he'll keep panning back. It'll pan that angle 20 times during a 5-minute speech. Why wasn't he just facing the camera like I'm sitting here, facing the camera and saying what he's saying? It's hard to sit through, and it's hours long, and you have to listen to one person by another person. So many different people, from the people that work in food service to maintenance, everybody. You got to listen to them all. One of the funny ones was a pest control guy. Pest control guy comes in there, and I don't know what nationality he was, but says, "Listen up, people. The cockroaches, they were here before me. They're going to be here after me. They were here before you. They're going to be here after you. Don't ask me about the cockroaches. I can't do nothing to help you." There were cockroaches that were big enough to drink your beer and smoke your dope. They weren't scared of the light. Everywhere. You're going to wake up, there's going to be one on you at some time at Petersburg Lowe's. No air conditioning either. It's like a 90, 100-year-old military prison that they made into a federal prison. And the cockroaches, I cannot tell you. They're everywhere. You have to seal up your locker good. I sealed mine up obsessively, compulsively good, but some people, you'd see them open their locker and 6, 7 roaches would scatter, sometimes more than that. But he was basically just telling you, I can't help you. You're stuck. You're going to have to deal with that. And it's such something I can't state enough. Like, they're just everywhere. Everywhere. One building, if you're in what they call the parking lot, which is a big open area, at nighttime they crawl on the ceiling and they fall on people when they're sleeping. Man, I've heard some stuff. But anyway, this lieutenant gets up there. It's a woman. You know, in prison, guys been locked up for a while. Their standards lower. Probably a 5 on a 1 to 10. And she gets up there, gives this speech, and everything else. And you see some of the guy looking at her and everything else. When there's not a lot to look at, people's standards go a lot lower. And when people have been in prison for 20, 30 years, their standards go a lot lower too. So somebody said something about, "That's Lieutenant Snowflake." And I said, "Lieutenant Snowflake? Why you call her Lieutenant Snowflake?" And I would soon see out on the yard every day, she would walk and sashay and strut along the yard, usually have an inmate or two walking with her, and she'd walk the perimeter of the yard. I guess just to act like she's out there doing something, maybe to get some exercise. Had a few extra pounds on her she would probably lose. But anyway, she was what some would consider a little bit flirtatious. Enough to be flirtatious. And see, there are guys in there that really do convince themselves if a CO is nice to them. There are guys, you've seen it outside. Everybody knows that guy that a girl was nice to him once, and the guy thinks, she loves me. I mean, in there, you got some people that are beyond that, There was this one young fella that came up to her, which he was just laughing, giggling, sashaying around the basketball court, and the story that I heard was he walked up and asked, "What do I have to do to get a pretty snowflake like you?" She locked him up. She threw him in the hole for a few weeks. In the hole for a few weeks? I mean, she could have wrote him something, computer for 30 days or commissary for 30 days. That's torture. That's torture to somebody, putting somebody in solitary. Watching 60 Days In right now, you see these people that have been in prison before, they can't handle 2 weeks. And this guy had to do more than that. And these people on 60 Days In, they're all, I'm going to do another one on that later tonight. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty strong, you know. So, but don't say nothing to her. You better not. And, so my first interaction came whenever I was going to the home, when I went to the shoe. Got put in her office, and of course they run your pockets, and I had a wallet. They have a leather shop in the prison. Buddy Kevin Crockett makes some pretty incredible stuff at the Medium, but almost every inmate has a wallet that was made in the leather shop that they buy. Buy it with prison money usually, or send money to somebody's books. Kevin Crockett makes put your name in it. He put somebody's face in it. They had tools, sharp tools in the leather shop, and nobody ever used them for nothing. You know, it's kind of, you know, a known thing. Don't mess with the leather shop tools. They check them every day, and they're serious about it. Nothing ever happened, and they got some sharp stuff in there. I mean, you're tooling leather. I mean, they've got, like, literally razors they're cutting stuff in with, and they make sure they have every piece of it. But anyway, took my wallet. My mom had a recent phone number change for her place of business, which a lot of times on her cell phone, where she owns a small business that depends on her in order for it to keep running, I can't get her on her cell phone. But if I call the business, then somebody's going to pick up, get the phone to mom. I didn't have the number committed to memory. It was in a little bag on her desk, sitting there, and I asked her, and it was a whole hour before they took me to the shoe. They do a 10-minute move every hour, and they have to wait till the people can transport me, so they take me out the front of the low and put me on a van over to the Medium. I get out. I'm going to circle back, but when I got out of the van, there's this big old angry dude with chewing tobacco. He spits, like, dramatically, like it was a scene out of a movie. And he got that thing pointed at my feet. I mean, I'm shackled doing the duck walk. Had cuts in my ankles for forever, making me walk a quarter mile in shackles and like all tied up. It was rough, but I mean, it's a little intimidating. You know what I mean? Like, you got this guy looking like, mother, just give me a reason. But before I did that, you know, I asked her. I said, listen, my mom's got a new phone number. The number's inside the wallet. I don't have it committed to memory. Can I please just see it real quick? Just please, just so then I know how to get a hold of her whenever I get over the shoe. You can get that from your counselor whenever you get to the shoe. And I said, but it's right there. She and just ignores me and goes on laughing, giggling with the other guy. That stuck with me. That made me mad. It made me furious. It was so unnecessary. I mean, I'm already screwed. What would it hurt for you to let me see a number in an open little bag that's on the table in front of you? It wouldn't have hurt anything. And I sat there for a whole hour looking at that wallet, thinking I could commit this number to my memory right now, and I'm kicking myself in the leg for not having committed it to my memory yet. So that always stuck with me. Now, I did not like her at all because of that. A lot of other people don't like her for a lot of reasons. But a lot of people try to, you know, kiss up to her because there are going to be them people that think they can. Now, there was some rumors about how she got in her position of power, that maybe, possibly, you know, telling on some other COs or something. I don't know about that, but that's what the word was, what it is, and there are people out right now that can confirm that. Whenever I talk with them, they will talk about it. But anyway, so I get back to the low security, and I was on a couple medications 2 years before prison, and the entirety that I was in prison. I was on Wellbutrin and gabapentin, and I didn't know that Wellbutrin was something that people abused. I didn't even have a clue it was something people abused. Are you dreaming, girl? She did fall asleep that time, I think. But I didn't know that till prison. That came in handy whenever I was in the drug program, because there was a guy who, they had 4 inmates run it that have already graduated. That kept me out of having to do some of the punishments and be behind the scenes. I just gave him that medicine during the time I was in there. But anyway, it kept me together, kept me pretty well together. I didn't do heroin the entire time I was in there. I did drink for 6 months that I was in there, but did gabapentin and Wellbutrin. And there were times, you know, just being straight up honest, that whenever I was having, you know, panic attacks, that there were people that had gabapentin that I'd get it off of them. Because, and even to this day, Like, I don't take it during the day. I take it up during the night when I wake up. I usually wake up 4 to 8 times during the middle of the night. PTSD dreams. You see somebody get poked up 10 foot away from you just at random when you're just walking about, having your day. Somebody gets poked up right beside of you. It leave you a little twitchy. But, say something really bad was about to happen. I'd take, a quarter of one of them and I'd be good. So I was 3 months away from going home, and the BOP did this thing where they were cutting people off their meds. I've been on this medication for like the over 4 years and change that I've been in prison, and the 2 years before I was in it, and they're just trying to cut me right off of it. There were certain people that they left on it longer than others, but ultimately the plan was to get everybody off of it because it was recognized as something that people were buying, trading, selling, and all that. So there was one person who was a friend of mine who I made an arrangement that I could buy it off him because they cut me off completely, just random. They picked and choose certain people, and basically they said because I was young and gabapentin was used as mainly for a neuropathy or a pain thing, but it's also used for anxiety. It's a hugely incredible thing that helps people with anxiety. Then it's a non-narcotic. There are some people that abuse it, but it's non-narcotic. It's not going to hurt anything, and it's it was what really helped me. It still does to this day. So I'd get it off of him. Okay. Now, every day at pill line, I'd wait, and then he'd cup it in his hand, and then he'd hand it to me. And this particular day, we were the last people in pill line, and we walked around the side of the building. He handed it to me, and just because I'm an extra cautious person, I'm extremely paranoid. I'm extremely cautious. You're not going to catch me with anything in my pockets when I'm walking place to place. Even when I was dealing, I did this a few times, but so as soon as he gave it to me, even though I didn't plan on taking it right then, I looked at it, made sure it was what it was, put it in my mouth. Okay, so I've got the couple pills in my mouth, and little did I know that she was just getting ready to walk into the prison. So when you walk into the prison, when the guards walk in, it's not like a big circular thing. It's like a little town. It's like a gridlock where there's sidewalks, and there's like 2 buildings here, 2 buildings here. It looks like a little city, the low does. It's aesthetically a lot more pleasing than the medium, I'll tell you that. So when people walk into the prison, there's up near the visiting room up front, there's a door with a window with bars. They have to be buzzed in, and apparently somebody else who was walking back tried to warn us, but she's standing at the bar screaming at the top of her lungs like, "I get this door open," because she was sitting there watching, and she said, "You two, you, stop where you are." I said, "Oh Lord," and I made myself dry swallow those 2 pills right then. Searched us, ran, said, "I saw you give in the..." No, you didn't. You thought you saw. No, you didn't see that. And she called us lieutenant's office. She took our IDs. Okay, usually when they take your ID, it means you're going to have to see them later. Well, the only problem with that was I had a visit that morning. My mom was there to see me, and you have to have your ID in order to go to the visiting room. So I had to tell Sia, send me to her office. I got to go get my ID. And she said something, and it's like, "I know you did it." I said, "No," I said, "I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you on this, but I do have a visit. May I have my ID?" "So what bull BS line are you going to tell me?" I said, "I'm not going to tell you anything." I said, "I'm going to tell you I need my ID to go to see my visit, please." And she gave me my ID angrily. And from somebody who worked some people work in the lieutenant's office. A lot of times those people are the people that are telling, but one of those people worked in my building, and it wasn't somebody I normally talk to, but he came up to me later and he said, "Man, oh man," she was mad. She said, "I know he did it, but I can't prove it." And how she was going off on me. And I loved it. I was happy this happened. I know that sounds a little bit childish, but I'm still angry at her. It was hard for me to get a hold of my mom when I first got in there. I spent 87 days in the hole. They said they was going to send me to Texas and California because I insulted the SIS lieutenant, and he wasn't happy with me. And it took me a while to get a hold of her. And phone calls in there, you don't just get them. You get one phone call when you get there, and then you get one phone call a month. They wheel a portable phone with a long wire to in front of your room, open up the tray slot, they call it the beanhole, and you reach the phone through, press the buttons on that thing, and you better hope that during that 30-minute time that you're able to get a hold of somebody. And it really pissed me off, like, that she did that. It was so anyway, the other guy, I heard pretty much he had the same thing with her. He was a little bit more smart than me on how he responded to her. But anyway, I didn't go to the kitchen a lot. I went on Fried Chicken Day, but I mostly lived off of commissary. I mean, I did. I refried beans, instant rice, mackerel. You know, there's a guy in Virginia, which is building beside of us, who was in there for robbing pharmacies and selling steroids. He had 3 degrees in fitness, was a professional bodybuilder, and he'd write people's menus. And you had to be having some success for him to write your menus. So since I was doing reasonable, he kept me with him. But everybody who he wrote their menus, it was known, and that's what he used, was the people as, see, I know what I'm doing. And he did know what he was doing. But on Fried Chicken Day, that was my day, you know, to go over there. And I'd go over to maintenance. See, I had a signing job at maintenance. I didn't work over there. It was a no-pay job, but it was a job so then I don't have to work in the kitchen. You have to have a job somewhere on paper. So that was my job, was there. So I was one of the first people to walk in. So I walk in there, and she just stands, the lieutenant beside her, standing there talking to her. She ain't listening to nothing he's saying. She has her arms crossed and just mean mugs me. This place has like 300 inmates in there standing around the perimeters waiting to go. People standing around the perimeters of the kitchen. There's 2 different lines. Tables are all through at the middle. She's ignoring everybody, ignoring him, ain't paying attention to what he's saying, just standing there looking at me. Even as I walk up to the rail, she's 5 foot away. She's just looking at me, like she's trying to use like the Force. You know what I mean? Like that Darth Vader stuff to choke me. and I've got this little smug grin, you know. And yeah, she didn't say nothing about it. And there, you know, every time I went to the kitchen after that, she mean mugged me. And every single time. But anyway, it was wrong they cut me off the medication 3 months before going home, because, you know, I mean, you can't just do that to people. And yeah, it was a little bit smug how I, you know, would grin and stuff, but it felt like a sort of revenge that I was very happy about. I felt like I got the last laugh on that one. She was pissed. She hated me. Everybody who was there, who was around, who stood in line, they'd laugh at it. And she'd get even angrier, I could tell, because it was that bad, where she would stop listening to whoever was talking to her and just stare at me the entire time I was in there. She'd stare there watching me eat. Like she was mad, you know, that it was bad, but it was funny. And anyway, figured I'd share this one. This was one of those ones I was just thinking of, something reminded me of it the other day. But yeah, it felt good, you know, because she was petty. She is petty. You know, she's going to walk around sashay and expect people not to say something to her. You know, she goes down there. I mean, no other lieutenant does that. If it was something normal lieutenants, all of them did, then it would be me personally singling her out. She struts around the yard, the entire perimeter, then hangs out and giggles and laughs and does, you know, that with people all day. You know, and it's the attention. You saw that with the number of people in there. You saw that with the number of women in there that, you know, there's some good ones in there too. Don't get me wrong. There were some great COs in there, that women COs that did their job, or respect, didn't bother anybody. But then there were other ones that like would eat it up, because outside of prison they don't get that attention. Inside of there, oh Lord, I mean, I had a family member that worked at a prison. They said, man, any woman with a self-esteem issue needs to go work in a prison. Oh my Lord. And that cracked me up. I've got some funny stories about that too now that I think about it. But anyway, this is one, you know, just my little personal kind of, it sounds ridiculous, but it was my little bit of revenge, and it made me incredibly happy. And anybody who was there that was friends with me, that stood in line with me in the kitchen, or probably a bunch of people, other people that didn't, like, people look at her, then look at me, like, what'd you do? That was the first thing that happened, was one of my friends like, dude, what did you do? She's staring at you. And I was just trying not to look over at her. I was just like, but anyway, I'm planning on, if you're new to here, I do a video every day at 5 o'clock usually. I might put this one out at 4 o'clock today. Plan on doing 2 other ones. I'm going to talk about 2 other things. Probably talk about 60 Days In show at second episode. There's some stuff that happened in that, want to talk about. And then there's some other stuff, addiction related. Failed war on drugs I want to speak about. Feeling a little bit better today. Can hear out of my right ear a whole lot better than I have the last few days. The last week I have not been able to eat good at all. I have eaten like the most unhealthy stuff because it's the only stuff that will sit on my stomach and keep down. I gotta get my fat butt in shape. My shoulder's about pretty much better now too. So I might do some stuff on here. Y'all might see me hyperventilate, showing y'all what I do to get my cardio up. It's something called death by burpees. It's simple. Anybody can do it, and I guarantee you won't last 20 minutes doing it. It's a good one. It's a quick one, and get your cardio up good and in a hurry. It's something they did in prison, but it's also popular outside of prison. It's one of the toughest workouts in the shortest periods of time. That's just, anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You might only get to 5 minutes. You might get up to 17, 18. I usually get up 17. Well, I was getting up 17, 18. It's been a minute since I've done it, but might do some of that in here too. So be looking out for the couple more videos. If you like the video, press the like button. If not, 21 minutes and 43 seconds of your life in which you'll never get back. And for that, I am terribly sorry, but y'all have a good one.